happened to Michelle Lay. Vanished on a sunny evening from a well-lit parking garage under the protective watch of 18 surveillance cameras. Detectives with the Hayward Police Department went over this footage again and again. Were they missing something? What happened in those minutes after Michelle walked out of camera range and before her car went racing out of the garage? It was infuriating. There was one camera right above Michelle's car, would have revealed everything. But that night, the camera wasn't working. What happened in those missing minutes? The police, remember, weren't talking to the family. So the family pursued its own line of investigation.
We're looking to human trafficking patterns and...
Human trafficking patterns?
Yeah.
You thought that was a possibility?
We did, yeah.
But that was a dead end. Then, June 30th, 34 days into Michelle's disappearance, the Lay family contacted us to say they'd begun working with a private investigator, a man named Michael Frame. And in the midst of his investigation, Frame sat down with us to tell us what he had learned.
This had happened quickly. This was a public parking garage. People came in and go from that garage all night. Someone was lying in wait. They knew that at some point she'd return to her vehicle. It was a number of hours before her shift was going to be over. And they were prepared to abduct her at that time.
Did anybody know why she went to her car?
Not that we know of at this time.
Unusual thing to do at that stage of the
I think it was either a quick break or something drew her out to her car. That we still don't know. But she was still dressed in white hospital scrubs. It was evident that she was going to come back because she left her belongings in the hospital.
Remember, though police found Michelle's car about a half a mile from the hospital, parked and locked in a residential area, they hadn't revealed yet what evidence they'd found inside. But Frame had found out a thing or two about the car and how it got there.
Did anybody see the car arrive?
There's a report of a witness who stated they heard conversation coming from headlights shining in their house and conversation coming from the car at about 4 o'clock the following morning.
Conversation?
Conversation.
Which would mean there's more than one person here.
People talking. The people that reported this saw headlights shining through their window, and they believed that it came from the general direction of where Michelle's car was found.
Multiple kidnappers. Almost had to be, said Frame.
I think when you look at the circumstances in their totality, how this person was waiting for her, and the fact that she was put into her vehicle obviously quickly and driven out quickly, that there may be a possibility of more than one person.
And he was almost sure not strangers.
This is someone that Michelle had some type of contact with, that saw her, that knew her, that knew where she parked her vehicle, knew what she drove, knew where she worked, knew when she'd be at work.
So it may be members of her family or her friends may already know who this is. I mean, may know the person who did it, just not be aware that they know. If they just look through what those relationships were, the answer may be in there somewhere.
The answer, I think, in this case is not far off.
The police had questioned Michelle's family, current and former friends, old boyfriends. But it didn't seem like they were getting anywhere. Frame thought the investigation was in trouble.
When your investigation is run cold, when you don't have a viable suspect, when you don't have information that's going to lead you to a suspect, I think it's important that you start looking at viable alternatives. Too often these cases go cold for 5-10 years. From what we've seen so far, I think there's a possibility.
The Lay family was working with Frame because they were frustrated with police. And now Frame tried to do something the police couldn't.
What we've done is put out information to anyone that may know something or potentially be involved or think that they know who's involved. They'll call us confidentially without contacting the police. And we'll provide that information to the right authorities and at the same time protect these people if they need protection.
Soliciting tips from people who were afraid to call the cops. Would his plan work? Wait and see.
Coming up, Dateline is there when that private tip line gets a dramatic call.
What is this guy saying? What can he tell you?
He said he has information to a potential site where Michelle may be.
Will he lead them to Michelle when Dateline continues?